Deputy? I don't chit-chat while I'm on duty. Alright then. You're talking to the wrong person for gossip. If I have something urgent enough to delegate myself, the person tapped for the assignment will know about it. Other work is generally handled by Commander Delano or as a team in the briefing area. If you make it quick? I suppose that's a fair question. I was in the middle of a meeting when Lily gave you the tour. I'm Lieutenant Dan. I maintain the machines around here, and delegate what the sheriff tells me to, when Commander Delano tells me to do it. Delano and I keep the routine departmental affairs in order, so the sheriff and the other lieutenants can focus on issues requiring a more custom touch. It's difficult to protect a city that doesn't seem overly interested in being protected, nor in protecting itself. They took a look at the issue they were facing, as synth replacements, raiders hitting the caravans, and the fading of the Minutemen. One suggestion from McDonough, and with laser-like precision, they focused on the ghouls within the walls as the source of these problems. He rose the discontent to an electoral win, and the ghouls went away, but their problems didn't. Do I feel pity or contempt? Take your pick. This is a solid structure that has at least a few hundred more years of usable life left in it. We are fortunate to have it, all things considered. I don't usually like to live in the rotting carcass of the old world. It's backwards thinking when mankind needs to create and manufacture. But we don't have the resources of the Lion's Brotherhood at our disposal anymore. Still, the textile manufacturing is an admirable achievement. It was difficult to bring that city to heel, to make it safe for travelers and civilians alike. It required no small amount of resources and the destruction of the Enclave, culminating in the activation of a massive municipal water purifier. An uncomfortably large portion of the Brotherhood saw what we had done, acted decisively, and saved civilization in the capital wasteland. And they decided that saving civilization was a Brotherhood mission statement best left on paper, but not enacted in reality. I'll spare us both the political history lesson, but long story short, the Brotherhood abandoned the people of the capital wasteland. The final injustice was stripping down and looting Rivet City to create their massive, slow, and easy-to-hit airship. A wake-up call to Diamond City about just what the Commonwealth is capable of taking from you if you're careless. Or one would have hoped it was. Something wrong with the one you're currently tasked for? You've got your orders. You'll be well paid. Bunker Hill made a deal with the devil if they think those raiders will leave them alone forever in exchange for protection money. I'm in regular contact with Kessler through various merchants and have urged her to set a trap to end their raider problems once and for all. I've even offered some of our mechanized troops to ensure that there are no survivors, but she has refused more than once. She's worried about the people she leads, and she's doing what she thinks is best. But she hasn't seen how these deals end. I have. It's a marvel of science and engineering, a credit to Dr. McClintock and her education. She's achieved very much at such a young age. I'm very proud to have designed the purification and irrigation system. It was expensive, but Vault 81 sold us their tertiary backup purifier. The pressure is provided by centrifugal pumps we salvaged from industrial fire trucks in the airport hangar across the city. We overpowered the system to extend component life. The purifier and pumps are operating at only 25% nominal capacity any given day. Barring external catastrophe, that purifier and delivery system will outlive Dr. McClintock's grandchildren. She is undisciplined, but she is a tremendously skilled fighter and moves better in a T-60 than most seasoned Brotherhood knights. The sheriff has grown quite fond of her, as have we all, and keeps her close by to teach her wisdom and self-control as well as her own peace of mind. She has big plans for Lily. The Institute is gone, but many agents and loyalists remain. We can't wait for their influence to fade. It must be stamped out. Like the Institute, they have made it clear they will not stop what they are doing, no matter how many people their malfunctioning synths kill. People of Diamond City are tired of losing loved ones and the paranoia. They're mentally drained. We cannot permit it to continue. We need a strong ally outside the Fens whose interests align with ours. The Minutemen certainly fit those requirements. She is a fine soldier. She graduated top of her class and regularly outperformed all other cadets in our generation. I was raised alongside her. I've served as her second and been on her team for as long as I can remember. She is my friend and my family. She's never steered us wrong. With the exception of Crenshaw, we were raised together in the same playpen since before we could walk and talk. Literally. We each received exceptional classical military training and excelled in our own areas that complement one another. Like the sheriff, they are my friends and family. We've always been there for each other, and never failed to avenge an injustice on us. Fate's willing, I will die with them at my side, on my feet, and on my own terms. What happened to them was inevitable. Their actions made them enemies of everybody. They were amateurs playing in a professional league. They are a useful source of power armor parts, but they are also kids finding the right path together. I see much potential in them. To be blunt, they are under our protection for multiple reasons. We take that responsibility seriously. I have nothing to say with her standing right there. Lily's Wrath is a formidable opponent. He's saved my life twice. I can never repay that debt. I can only try to repay it for the rest of the life he has given me. Treat him well. I can confidently say there is no finer physician on the East Coast, or any other real ones for that matter. She is the bedrock upon which this entire organization depends. Food, caps, trade, and morale are all made in her greenhouse, directly or indirectly. If the greenhouse is the beating heart of the sheriff's department, she is the beating heart of the greenhouse. I've never met a sharper mind in my life. If we had her when Project Purity came online, the capital would have been transformed into a paradise. I don't envy the weight on that young lady's shoulders. She carries it admirably. The settlers of the Commonwealth look to her for education and pollinators. They have pinned their hopes for lasting food security on her research. McGilly is a fierce fighter who proved his resolve by bringing his pregnant wife all the way from Far Harbor in the open wastes. He needs more discipline, but I have seen him in a fight. He's fast, hits what he aims at, and most importantly, keeps his wits about him. He is at his strongest when he is protecting his wife and son. That is why he requested, and was granted, responsibility for the rear gate security. Luna likewise proved her resolve and fortitude on the trip down here, and when she gave birth in the middle of a firefight. Her work keeps our deputies covered in clothing and armor. It also turns a modest cotton yield into a source of considerable revenue. She sees the value in the existence of the knowledge she has, and is passing it on to her son, and others, to ensure it survives, even if she does not. It sounds transactional, but Whitworth's misfortunes have turned into a great gain for us. That is simply the fact, whatever your feelings may be. He has 2 centuries of firearms, explosives, and weapon repair, and improvisation experience. That is a valuable and rare skill in this world. The Diamond City could not see how self-defeating it was to banish him and the other ghouls boggles the mind. Mayor Henry Roberts asked the sheriff to take charge of an autonomous security force to carve and maintain a safe zone out of the Fens. We are the result of that effort. We work in Diamond City's interests, which often align with those of honest merchants and the settlers of the region. That makes us popular. It also means we will do whatever we can to rid the Commonwealth of those who would threaten the people of Diamond City or their interests. That would be the Institute, synths, and those who would release them among us, gunners, raiders, and any number of assholes. You see, the Brotherhood has always stated their purpose is to preserve civilization and mankind. The catch is that they count only themselves as such. The West Coast Brotherhood has always been true to the ideals originally established 2 centuries ago, to preserve mankind and civilization. The East Coast Brotherhood strayed from that path under Elder Lyons during the Project Purity years, before Sarah Lyons was fragged in the field. But with the rise of Maxon's Brotherhood and the reassimilation of Kasdan's outcasts, the Brotherhood has returned to its roots. Exploiting and looting the general population around them for food, tech, and babies for tomorrow's soldiers, then shooting them if they resist. The disconnect between the Institute's declared mission and their actions make their declared mission of eradicating us no less dangerous. They've made it clear they will not stop the kidnappings and replacements, and that they will not tolerate a functional Commonwealth government. There is no scenario where you can negotiate with the intolerant and expect anything but intolerance for the effort. They have to go. They are a textbook example of why you never deal with and trust a mercenary. Mercs always have a price, no matter the task. Their tendency to attack anything they see when bored forces me to wonder how they make any money at all. It's very unprofessional and unprofitable. Their ability to organize makes them formidable if you don't shoot their officers first. So we shoot their officers first every time. Gunner Command has been smart enough to leave Diamond City alone since Hangman's Alley, but random psychoed out gunners are unpredictable. We need a strong ally outside the Fens whose interest aligns with ours. The Minutemen's interests do, but as for the other requirement... What did you need? What is it? Yeah? Make it brief. Stealth is absolutely essential for your success. If you move quieter without power armor, leave it behind when you're done with the crossing. If they realize you are there before you strike, we run a serious risk of losing one or all of the Atom Cats, people. That is totally unacceptable. The mechanized team will depart the bathhouse at twilight, and time their arrival at the peninsula for dark. Once there, you will make your way to the warehouse and neutralize the guards watching the Atom Cats before they raise an alarm. After that, Lily, you are to control an angry group of Atom Cats and let us finish the job without any of them getting killed. Once the Atom Cats are safely out of harm, you'll make your way west through the Atom Cats compound, eliminating gunners with extreme prejudice. The others will take your gunfire as a signal that the Atom Cats are safe and to launch their attack around the flanks of the front gate. You are to meet in the middle, so check your friendly fire twice. The silhouette you're shooting at might be one of ours. Gunners staged a raid on the Atom Cats' garage shortly before dawn this morning. A pair of mini-nuke explosions attracted scouts to the area. Judging by their locations and the destroyed armor around them, the detonations were the fusion cores on Atom Cat patrolling T-60s. By the time our scouts got within visual range of the garage, all known Atom Cats were being held hostage in the warehouse behind the Red Rocket. It's most likely gunner snipers forced the patrols out of their power armor and used them as bargaining chips to make the rest surrender. Crenshaw has also reported the scouts are suffering from a critical lack of experience in hardening their defenses. The Atom Cats garage is on a peninsula, which makes it obvious where to harden your defenses, if you're an inexperienced officer. But they've made a fatal mistake. They forgot power armor is submersible and concentrated their forces on the causeway to the west of the garage. We've spoken to a couple of caravans in town already. They're giving us a rough location a few clicks west of the Nuka World Transit Center. We're sending Crenshaw. He has experience scouting new areas, and also has the authority to speak for the FSD in matters of diplomacy and trade. However, the caravans have also reported the area is heavy with raider activity, an infestation at least as dense as Libertalia. Which is why we're sending you to accompany Crenshaw on his mission. You've worked together in the past against some tough odds. After quelling the gunner's third attempt at subverting our organization, we've run out of leads. Terminal entries, holotapes, and rumor mill have provided us up to this point, but we're still lacking some critical details. The noose, Devola's presence, terminal entries, and the assault on the greenhouse, FSD, and Atom Cats enable us to infer several things. First, we know these gunners are not acting on behalf of a client. They self-funded this operation through kidnapping contracts of the Institute. Next, we know from the noose this is in response to an incident where we used unique methods to warn the gunners to stay away from Diamond City. All this points to a personal score to settle. I suspect this colonel was involved with or commanded the original raid on Diamond City years ago. We know the entire operation is being led by someone his troops simply call the Colonel. We do not know anything about him or her, other than this person must be a capable, well-funded, and charismatic leader to pull so many active gunners off external contracts for this. We're told these Dunmores have a child. They are to remain unharmed. Deadly force is only authorized if they use it on you. The intel gathering ends when Crenshaw says it does. Return here with Crenshaw for your payment and debrief. Any questions? Report to the sheriff immediately. This is an emergent run we're talking about. HQ needs updates, and we need them fast. How did it go in there? While we only think we know a few things about the Institute, we know enough to get us started, and we know what we need to do. Not long after we established our headquarters and began on-air communications, our equipment started detecting periodic energy bursts. We had no idea what they were. Suffice to say they came from somewhere close by, and were generated by sophisticated technology. Energy releases that powerful are either an explosion, EMP, or unknown technology. Since there were no explosions and no EMP, we spent a considerable amount of time trying to triangulate where the bursts were coming from. We had no idea what they were, and no way to predict them. We just had to send scouts who would sit and wait for readings. Reading the data proved a challenge. Every energy burst seemed to have two origins, which complicated the data considerably. They would come in pairs. One signal always seemed to emanate from Cambridge, the other, it was anyone's guess. We made little progress for a long time. We suspected the Institute, but we couldn't tell if it was an experiment, a weapon, or something else. So it became standard operating procedure to collect telemetry during any encounters we expected to have with the Institute. Recently, during Lily's extraction from the Institute counter-ops facility, Crenshaw encountered something that made it all make sense. You've no doubt all heard through rumors now that the Institute possesses teleporter technology, and it was the source of the energy burst. And now you know why we can't ever find the Institute. It has no doors. We've been closely monitoring the chip that came out of the CPU of the Courser that Crenshaw and Harkins recovered. Some of the technology we've been able to harness, other aspects of it are a complete mystery. The chip is finely tuned to detect the Cambridge side of the teleporter bursts, and becomes very active during and immediately after them. For example, we have absolutely no idea how to use this chip to hitch a ride on their teleporter or call for a pickup. However, we have been able to decode and read the data it receives for each of the teleporter bursts. This means we know where in Cambridge the Institute is located. Roughly. Listen closely, people. The doctor is about to go over the plan. That's not listening, people. We're here for business. Doctor, the plan, please. That's putting it mildly. This looks like an entirely new cafe. Very impressive. Good coffee is essential for morale. I'm glad we finally have some. Yes, Kessler relayed some very useful information about this gang. Unsurprisingly, she has dealt with and paid ransoms to them before. Apparently, kidnapping and ransom of paying Bunker Hill customers is their MO, customers who have yet to settle their bills with Bunker Hill. If the customer owes Bunker Hill 1,000 caps, they will ransom their victim for 500, for example, and Kessler usually pays. It would seem, Terry, that your idea of hiring Stockton to move your cargo is what saved you from their other MO. He did, only an hour later. He said nothing looked out of the ordinary on the inside. He didn't see the victims, and he did business with cultists. That would not be an inaccurate comparison. Exactly. These raiders are widely known to sell said kidnapping victims to the gunners for 100 caps, everyone assumed for slavers. Lucas Miller just happened to be leaving Bunker Hill after one of these failed ransoms, heading north along the coast in his usual route. He saw one of these exchanges take place from a distance. The raiders accessed a door with a keycard and entered. But here's why Lucas sent the message. It happened in front of Vault 816, a stop on his route. A few minutes later, the raiders came back out without the kidnapping victim and went on their way. Kessler's message was delivered in an envelope that contained another message, this one from Lucas Miller, occupied by a very cloistered but rather benign sect of the Children of Adam. The cargo manifest said Terry's shipment was to be brought to Vault 816 for a sizable fee, most likely to restock the occupants. In light of that evidence, we think we know what's going on now, and it supports the assertion that Dunmore's made about gunners in Vault 816. We believe that this Colonel individual is indeed in this vault, that his unit successfully rooted out and exterminated the Children of Adam there. We know that he had an entire group in Vault 75 devoted solely to kidnapping for the Institute, which was shut down by Crenshaw and Lily's sidekick. We feel he's doing the same with these kidnapping victims. His need for funding only gets more dire with each setback we deal him. In order to avoid suspicion, they've kept up the cult facade. So well, in fact, it fooled Lucas Miller. Until tomorrow, then. Can I assume you're ready for your mission now? The holotape of the gunner lieutenant you killed in Vault 75 contained many encrypted journal entries, as well as the ones you read. Get prepared and come see me. You'll want firepower and body armor. Your unfamiliarity with our department means we've got less to lose if the mission goes south. If this mission fails, there's a chance it will be because you were taken by the gunners to the Institute for memory extraction. We're acting on intel that you and Lieutenant Crenshaw recovered from Vault 75. The primary target is a gunner squad. Anything else I can only divulge after you agree to take the mission. This Lieutenant O'Brien was overseeing a running kidnapping contract for the Institute to raise revenue for an as-of-yet undetermined purpose. His company would kidnap as directed by the Institute, deliver their objective, and collect their substantial payment. He was under explicit orders from his commanding officer not to kidnap from Diamond City, our organization, or anyone under our protection. While that raises questions about what purpose they needed so many caps for, that is not why you're here. The only reason we know of this operation at all is because Lieutenant O'Brien got greedy, disobeyed orders, and took a contract to kidnap Lily. We'd call it a lucky break, but that ignores what Lily's been through. Nevertheless, it was not the only outside contract the lieutenant took. The lieutenant set out a squad with the goal of kidnapping either Dr. McClintock or Mr. Dr. Pepper as targets of opportunity. The squad has been operating independently and is unaware that O'Brien's company was liquidated by Crenshaw and yourself. Neither Dr. McClintock nor Mr. Dr. Pepper leave the city very often, or regularly. When they do, they book passage with a caravan for safety. This necessitates the gunners setting up a spotter to monitor the entrance to Diamond City to give their squad advance notice. Lieutenant Harkins has found that spotter, sitting in a building south of the front gate to the city, not far from Hardware Town. We don't want the spotter, though. We want the whole squad. So we're laying a trap, and you're the bait. That makes this particularly dangerous. You're going to pretend to be Mr. Dr. Pepper. He's waiting for you in his room. He's been briefed and will have a set of clothes for you to wear. Put them on. You then meet Carla at the front gate. We've booked passage for you with her caravan to Abernathy Farm and told her to make it known. You will proceed with Carla to the outskirts of the Fens, to ensure the gunner spotter sees you, dressed as Mr. Dr. Pepper, leaving the city. Once you're outside the Fens, you'll break off from Carla for her protection and proceed to Abernathy Farm on roads by way of Walden Pond. The gunners will know your destination, and are likely to kidnap you close to Abernathy because they can predict you will be near there eventually. Lieutenant Crenshaw, his scouts, and some snipers will be following you from a distance behind in anticipation of the kidnapping attempt. Your job is to draw out the gunner kidnapping squad, and keep them busy until Lieutenant Crenshaw and his men can arrive. Lieutenant Crenshaw may have more orders from there, which are need to know depending on mission status. Obey them, and you will be paid handsomely. Get topside via the east exit. See you back at HQ. You'd better catch up to Lily, unless you want to look suspicious. I'd advise against that. We've analyzed the intel we obtained from a rather large cache of holotapes at a railroad safe house recovered by Lily. More intel on their activity and communications was provided by the Brotherhood to assist us in our efforts. Suffice to say, along with this new treasure trove of intel on the railroad, makes now a better time than ever to strike and neutralize them. The organization is small, especially after the recent heavy losses they've suffered at the hands of the Institute. Their core operations are run by a couple handfuls of individuals to be found at 2 targets of interest. Dr. McClintock? Go speak with Harkins. This is her part. I assure you we're not moving in here. Now shut up and listen, Lily. Get back to HQ immediately and report to the sheriff. Good work. Now moving on. I have no doubt the fans will be here a while longer. I'll, be sure to let the scavers know. Next, it's on to more pressing business. The sheriff had Delano radio us to report as soon as we're done here. We leave this to our scavers and head out right away. The sheriff will fill you in. Alright, people. Time is wasting and our friends need us. Let's finish this up and start doing things. Last call for questions. Your helmet is in the power armor bay, Lily. Spear's already added the scuba gear to it. Get your power armor, proceed with Lily to the bathhouses in East Boston, where you will rendezvous with the rest of the mechanized units. From there, you will proceed south along the seafloor to the east shore of the Atom Cat's compound. Use stealth to neutralize the gunners guarding the Atom Cat hostages and free them. Meet up with Crenshaw's team in the middle. Good work, we're almost done. They're hurting bad. Go get some payback for the Atom Cats. Double back. Leave the tunnel the way you came. Make sure none of the gunners are breathing, faking being dead, or hiding. I'll head back via the west entrance, and we'll rendezvous back at the department for debriefing. If they are, put 2 in their head. Orders were clear and explicit. None of them are to leave this tunnel alive. Good. What you need to do is on your way home. We have a reputation. That means being thorough. With any luck, the hard part is over. There's one last task you need to do on the way out. Good thinking. Make sure it's turned off. Hold on to it until you get back to HQ. Give it to the sheriff yourself. Nobody knows. According to the merchants, the children of Adam occupy it, and they built up the outside like a fortress. Nor are they interested in allowing outsiders access to any terminals which would yield answers. The only thing that is for sure is Vault Tech routed all paying customers subscribing to these beliefs into this one vault to protect the others. That made it the largest vault east of the Mississippi River, hence the so-called Beast from the East nickname. They've been there as long as anyone can remember, and they're not interested in history. This will make planning difficult, to say the least. To be clear, Plan B is not an evacuation plan. Its objective is to protect the doctor while she finishes taking readings under fire. If and when their cover is compromised, Lieutenant Crenshaw will immediately activate the jamming device. We estimate its radius at a city block, meaning synths will not be able to teleport into the main quad or line of sight of the doctor. Lieutenant Harkins' team will be responsible for intercepting and disabling synths that teleport from outside the radius and arrive on foot. Lieutenant Spears' team will rally to Crenshaw and the doctor. They will clear the main quad and keep it that way to create a secure perimeter. This will act as a buffer zone to keep synths away from the doctor. Spears' team is not to leave the main quad. They stick close to Crenshaw. To reiterate, Spears' team will not leave their post. They are to only engage synths that make it past Harkins' team and are in firing range. Be ready to cover the doctor while she moves from reading position to reading position if need be. Once the data has been collected, Lieutenant Crenshaw will escort the doctor from the quad and bring her back here under Stealth Boy cover. And the GPR equipment. The Institute will know what we are doing if we leave it behind. It's imperative Lieutenant Spears and Lily clear it. They will not collect the equipment and they will not engage the enemy on the way out. The purpose is to get the doctor out as fast as possible. Spears' team, the GPR, jamming equipment, and fusion generator are in the armory. Lieutenant Crenshaw and the doctor will equip and leave for Cambridge within the hour. Rendezvous with Crenshaw and the doctor at nightfall in Cambridge at the designated location. Bring the equipment with you. Harkins' team will be there, but not actually enter the CIT campus quad. Do not wait to contact them to begin. They will remain out of sight. Affirmative. Feet get wet at 2000 hours. As I was saying, stealth is key here. You need to remain submerged at all times. You shouldn't have much of a problem doing that. The river is particularly deep in that area, with the exception of the bridge underpass. The second explosive, the Singularity device, is neutral buoyancy and hooked to a sustained pressure switch, a depth sensor of sorts. It will be drawn into the coolant return pipe towards the Institute and detonated at the proper location, if all goes well. Your power armor HUDs will be loaded with an overlay of waypoints and the deployment location. Place your packages exactly where they indicate. The positioning of both is critical to their success. Do not forget to tie off the Singularity bomb with the magnetic tether. It is zero buoyancy and will drift away with the current if you don't. Return along the same route you came and meet with Harkins on the roof of the apartment building by the plutonium well south of Diamond City. The first explosive is a standard demolition device to rupture the coolant return pipe. It is controlled by a remote detonator. Trigger the explosion from her position and observe to verify detonation. The tall well facing the river by the ruined street corner directly south of the main gate. The roof gives a good vantage point for the blast site. Sir? I wish I could disagree. According to Lucas, access to the caravan containing the vault entrance is protected behind retractable armor plates. Cutting through the armor to force entry would take so long they could easily harden their defenses and turn the breach into a death trap for us. He also stated communication with the interior is done via an intercom by the armored door, so we're going to need to talk our way inside. To complicate things, the door armor is re-extended behind him when he enters the vault, meaning they never open it for long. To sell your sidekick into slavery. The EMR emitter is on and all readings on it are nominal. If it works at all, it's working now. That radio station is too fuzzy for a clear signal. Lily's sidekick, here's your payment. You should get some rest first, then come see me about an important mission related to your Vault 75 intel. The night of our defection from the Brotherhood, we were caught by a mid-ranking scribe quartermaster as we were cleaning out the armory. Crenshaw shot him in the knee and then hog-tied and gagged him with duct tape so we could make our escape. It seems that Scribe Tegan is now Proctor Tegan and still holds a grudge. What did you find out about the Dunmores and this Colonel person? Not the smartest move for anyone who's a historian of military conflicts, but I suppose gunners don't care if entire families get annihilated. There you guys are. Let's get this started right away. The longer we're here, the more likely it is they'll catch on to us. We're really in a hurry here, so listen up. Once I light this fire, your personal assistant here is going to light the stack on the other side of the column for us. There wasn't much reading to be had on Vault 816. The number is clearly out of the range used for the government-commissioned vault designations. About the only information we do have is that it served a protective role for the other vaults in some capacity, and it was massive. Its size, said to be at least as big as any two other vaults, made it the largest vault on the East Coast and gave it the nickname the Beast from the East. Sadly, that's all we have on the pre-war origins, history, and purpose of the vault. There wasn't much reading to be had on Vault 816. The number is clearly out of the range used for the government-commissioned vault designations. About the only information we do have is that it served a protective role for the other vaults in some capacity, and it was massive. Its size, said to be at least as big as any two other vaults, made it the largest vault on the East Coast and gave it the nickname the Beast from the East. Sadly, that's all we have on the pre-war origins, history, and purpose of the vault. Yes, that brings me to the next part, the recent history of Vault 816. For that, I had to talk to a number of merchants and information dealers. As far back as living memory goes, Vault 816 was occupied by a very cloistered, but rather benign, sect of the Children of Adam. They dealt with few outsiders and let absolutely no outsiders in the vault, but like the cult in the glowing sea, they weren't hostile to outsiders. At some point in time after his defeat at Diamond City, the Colonel and his company took the vault by force, killing or enslaving the cultists. They didn't want to be found, so they apparently took on the identities of the Children of Adam themselves, at least on the surface. The vault was so cut off, in fact, that nobody in the Commonwealth noticed the entire vault had fallen and been replaced with gunners. Even Lucas Miller, the only merchant they ever dealt with, was completely unaware of the takeover. That is an excellent question, Lieutenant. How do we know we aren't being manipulated into attacking a vault that means no harm? Short answer is we can't be sure. But Lucas Miller's message, combined with what you discovered in Nuka World, increases our confidence. However, we can't be entirely certain, which is why our plan is not simply kick in the door and shoot. Oh, this is going to require a lot of coffee. Crenshaw will be tagged to go, but no doubt he could use an escort. Come back in a few hours if you're interested, and we'll have details. I have a feeling once we piece some more clues together, we'll have more work for you. Come back in a few hours if you're interested. During the early half of the 21st century, mankind underwent a dramatic dumbing down, not seen since the burning of the Library of Alexandria. Terminals, interconnected on a decentralized civilian network, allowed for the unrestricted free movement of information. And misinformation. Facts were replaced with fantasy, as experts became marginalized, and people started to believe whatever they wished. Many of these movements adopted ideas incompatible with sustained multi-generational life in the confines of a vault, and took them as gospel. The Karen Vault. You sure? Your helmet cartridges got the filter life to handle the smoke? Not now. I have no comment. Now, I believe you have a report and a communication device for the sheriff? Then you'll get paid. Did you get a location? There's a scout by the HVAC unit on the other side of the elevator column waiting. Here. Use this to light the tires. When you're done, go report to Lieutenant Harkins over there. Go light the fire on the other side. This isn't hard. I think that's everyone. At least everyone who had to come out. A couple of us have to go in there and verify there's nobody left. Then we can send the scavvers in for intel. Wouldn't dream of it. Here's a couple of gas masks we were going to use. We'll be waiting right here. The sheriff will fill you in. The payload will be delivered to the heat exchangers on the river floor by a team in scuba-equipped power armor. Eyes on the map, everyone. Lily and her team will enter the Charles River from a heavily wooded area on the south shore approximately 1 kilometer west of the CIT campus. They will proceed east on foot at the bottom of the river, under the bridge, and deploy the payloads at the heat exchangers. The first explosive device is designed to rupture the heat exchanger at the head of the return pipe, opening a route much deeper into the ground. The second explosive is the Singularity device. It will be sucked into the ruptured return line and detonate at a predetermined depth. Unlike with the Atom Cat's garage operation, you will be returning using the same route, and you must remain submerged at all times. To minimize the chances of detection, you will be...